Even though Matthew Stafford is still in charge of the huddle, his advanced age, 37 and counting, has turned into an inevitable Los Angeles subplot. The Rams have discreetly started creating their own backup plan because Sean McVay's offense requires not only arm talent, but also a quarterback who can comprehend and absorb information quickly and make decisions under pressure. Shedeur Sanders comes on. Even though the Browns selected him in the 5th round, his preseason brilliance, 2 calculated touchdown drives, unwavering poise under pressure, and superior cognitive control won over more than just fans. Go ahead and subscribe if you're interested in the true tale and all the messy turns that aren't shown on highlight reels. Additionally, you should certainly subscribe if you plan to stay to watch how this Browns quarterback crisis unfolds. The Rams noticed something more profound. Not a stand-in, but a future mastermind behind a sophisticated offensive scheme, ideally positioned to inherit one of the league's most sophisticated systems. The need is precision, not fear. The plan was to make an early investment in a quarterback with unique mental qualities, rather than bench Stafford. Sanders is not merely a project. His approach to succession planning, which is measured, calculated, and grounded in real-time behavioral data, represents a new frontier for exceptional teams. The Rams weren't interested in hype or athleticism. They went on to long-term value, presence, and intellect. Furthermore, whether or not the contract was completed, the idea of giving a rookie backup a sizable sum of money says a lot about the direction the NFL is heading and which teams are already there. Even season insiders are taking a second look at what happened in the NFL just now. According to rumors, the Los Angeles Rams, yes, the same team with a Super Bowl ring, a Hollywood zip code, and one of football's most calculating front offices, subtly made a multi-million-dollar offer to Shedeur Sanders' camp. Before the NFC Championship game, there should be no leaks or press conferences, just behind-the-scenes movements that leave the league in awe, not for a starting position or for the upcoming season. Shedeur Sanders, the kicker, isn't even a starter for the Browns. Let's retreat. The Cleveland Browns selected Shedeur Sanders in the 5th round of the draft. 5th. Teams repeatedly passed him by in spite of the buzz, name recognition, and collegiate excitement. However, in a single preseason game, just one, he changed the story. Clean pocket reads, 2 touchdowns, composure under duress, and flawless mechanics. And he accomplished it all with a playbook he was still learning and behind a makeshift offensive line without any first-team experience. NFL teams claimed to be looking for processing and poise. They were presented with it on a silver platter by Sanders. It was more than simply the numbers, though. It was the way his feet were repositioned in collapsing pockets and the way he moved. How he didn't recoil when things went wrong. It's uncommon for a rookie with no regular season experience to exhibit such poise. The Rams presumably decided it was sufficient to begin making calls. This wasn't a last-ditch effort by a panicked squad. Being careless isn't one of the many characteristics that define the Rams. Despite being 37 years old, Matthew Stafford continues to perform at a high level. Time is running out. Additionally, Sean McVay's offensive isn't based on vibes. It is a mental challenge. You need a brain capable of processing a chessboard mid-collapse, not simply an arm. Most rookies aren't even aware that Shedeur's preseason tape checkboxes exist. How did the Rams respond then? They made no attempt to use Sanders as a stand-in savior. No, they recognized a chance to secure an early developmental piece with a high promise. Consider it akin to venture capital for quarterbacks. The most crucial position on the field will be future-proofed with a low purchase cost, enormous upside potential, no lost draft picks, and no cap damage. The off-field value is the component that adds even more juiciness to this. Shedeur is a brand, not simply a quarterback. It is impossible to overlook the Floyd Mayweather impact, which is controversial, marketable, and real. He pulls off an engagement. He is a jersey vendor. Even when he is sitting on the bench, he still commands attention. And that type of media attraction is a component of the business plan for a Los Angeles-based franchise. It's ROI, not nonsense. This is where things start to get hot. The Cleveland Browns witnessed all of this firsthand. The preseason performance was identical. They listened to the same recording. Their scouting reports were identical. And what were they doing? Nothing. The league subtly moved around Sanders, who remained buried on the depth chart. It was more than a squandered chance. The failure to acknowledge what they had was systematic. Physical tools are no longer the only thing used in the NFL. College highlight reels and combined stats are irrelevant. Behavior-based appraisal is becoming the norm in the top front offices. Can a quarterback maintain composure when things are going wrong? Without the Rura foolishness, is he capable of leading? Is he capable of making fast decisions in high-stress, low-margin scenarios? These qualities are what win games. Shedeur then displayed them all. Although it wasn't very noteworthy, that post-game conversation with Myles Garrett spoke a lot. Respect for one another, no showmanship, simply a veteran recognizing what the Browns' coaching staff reportedly failed to notice. That this child was prepared, not to start a Super Bowl, but to be trusted, given meaningful reps, and intentionally developed. In some way, Cleveland didn't understand, and the Rams did. Here's why any team trapped in antiquated development cycles should take note. The league is on its way. The Rams aren't trying to win the lotto. Similar to how Silicon Valley creates startups, they are constructing quarterback rooms. Find underappreciated talent. Place it in an ecosystem with a high lever and allow it to compound. Stafford offers guidance. The system is provided by McVay. The platform is provided by LA. The hype isn't the point. It has to do with infrastructure. Cleveland, meanwhile, is being cautious, preventing Sanders from getting even situational reps, and that is not only conservative, it is damaging. His progress stalls every week as he sits. Habits are not strengthened. There is no sharpening of situational awareness. Potential is not something that can be stored in a drawer. You damage it. Another subtle change is also highlighted by the Rams' purported migration. The days of tampering are over. Everything takes place in the gray region these days. Casual conversations, middlemen agents, and feelers based on timing. The rules become hazy and the NFL's current enforcement methods are completely out of step, particularly when a team like LA is in a high-stakes week like Championship Week. Now, this is the only way the game functions. The fact that exploratory talks had place at all, even if the Rams' interest never materialized into a formal offer, is groundbreaking. It indicates that teams aren't holding out for the draft or the retirement of veterans. They're ahead of the curve, using media economics, psychology, and analytics to scout more intelligently rather than just loudly. Indeed, there is also a media angle. Sanders is more than simply a playbook nerd. He brings his eyes. Even if it's split, the attention he gets is profitable. It's about synergy for LA. Marketing gold meets football talent. A quarterback with the ability to engage players and throw darts. In today's NFL, that is a unicorn. Not all the Rams wanted was a quarterback. A media multiplier was what they desired. Sanders was a good fit. Well, back in Cleveland, the Browns are now dealing with more than just a depth chart issue. They have a problem with believability. Gamers take note. Agents converse. Don't be surprised when other teams approach you if you select a quarterback with exceptional situational skills and then stockpile him like a long-term stock option. It conveys the idea that your evaluation procedure is out of date. That preparedness is irrelevant. In some ways, the theoretical upside is more useful than the demonstrated behavior. It's more than just a tactical mistake. Reputation is at risk. What does this leave us with, then? With a philosophy of development at a turning point. On the one hand, the old school was afraid to stray from the wait your turn time frame and was locked on pedigree. Conversely, organizations like the Rams are ruthlessly effective at assessing future value because they are brand-aware, data-informed, and brand-aware. This had nothing to do with player theft. It was about spotting opportunities and taking action before others did. It doesn't really matter if Sanders ever dons blue and gold. What this saga revealed is what counts. That the NFL is rapidly moving away from stat-chasing and combined worship in favor of a model that values context, conduct, and flexibility. You're already behind if you're not adapting your playbook to that reality. Leave a comment. Is it better for the Browns to trade for Sanders or develop him? Was the way we scout quarterbacks just altered by the Rams? Press the like button. Talk to your football team about this. Remember to subscribe so you don't miss the next big NFL change. The Rams don't seem to sleep, and this league does too. This was more than a wayward whisper in an agent's ear, let's be clear. According to reports, the Rams offered actual cash. Promises of several $1 million. Unless you've done your homework, that doesn't occur. This was no impulsive Amazon purchase. This was clinical, deliberate, and entirely strategic. The Browns didn't blink, though. That's what makes this so crazy. Not only did the Rams see something that nobody else did. Cleveland was seated in the front row and remained still. The group that controls Sanders' rights didn't even change its strategy. No exposure to the first team, no more reps, and no discernible increase in responsibility. They decided to let it develop on the practice squad after witnessing exceptional processing, pressure management, and field leadership. This is not even a developmental method. Intent is implied by development. This was neglectful stagnation. And see, we understand. One preseason game does not warrant a complete makeover of your quarterback room. However, you at least investigate a game when it exhibits characteristics that typically don't appear until year 2, or occasionally never. You modify the plan. You don't let another franchise make a big offer and then pretend that nothing is wrong. Because, guess what? As the rest of the league watches, some of them question whether Cleveland is even aware of what they have. Now let's discuss what made Shedeur's performance so captivating. Those touchdowns weren't the only thing. He was that calculating. We're talking about a player who is displaying the kind of poise that shouts Sunday starter, making flawlessly timed balls under pressure, and executing entire field progressions with no first-team rhythm. And he acted as if it were inconsequential. Just process, reset, deliver, rinse, and repeat. No happy feet or panic. It's more than just talent. That's stress-induced executive function. It's not common. That is precisely what NFL scouts are taught to search for. And it's increasingly taking precedence over everything else. The days of being fixated on amazing scores and vertical leaps are quickly coming to an end. These days, decision-making, emotion control, and quick thinking are what win games. Those qualities aren't attractive. Although they are not featured in viral highlights, they translate to shaders and wins that appear on a limited number of reps without the advantage of a customized system or complete installation. Therefore, it was more than Stafford's age when the Rams called. It has to do with opportunity cost, marketability, and preparedness. Because someone else would ultimately reach out if they didn't. And let's not ignore the business side of things. There is more to this than just XS and OS. LA is a city of media. Branding is important. Possessing a quarterback who generates publicity, endorsement deals, and social interaction. Leverage is that. Because of this, players like Johnny Manziel, Baker Mayfield, and yes, even Timbo, continue to be given second chances. Value is equivalent to attention, and Shedeurs had plenty of it. But he has the game to support it, unlike those other names. A young quarterback with exceptional processing skills, a well-known name, and marketing potential is currently waiting for attention behind a Browns depth chart. The Rams took note. And for that reason, this seems like a more significant turning point than a single roster change. There was no trade here. There was no press release. It was a sign that the most astute organizations in the NFL are not waiting for approval to move forward. They're not waiting to catch up with traditional measures. They are actively pursuing talent after spotting it before it blossoms. The Browns were recently caught flipping the development playbook. Some fans will now say, well, we've got our starter. We're fine. Yes, that may be the case at the moment. However, developmental infrastructure is not limited to the present. It concerns the consequences of your plan A failing. You're suddenly looking at a 9-8 season without an exit ramp when your window closes. The Rams were considering the long term because of this. For this reason, they attempted to purchase a player at a discount, whose worth will only increase as more people become aware of his potential. Let's discuss what would have happened if the Browns had changed their timeline in response to Shedeur's outstanding preseason play. Perhaps incorporating him into pressure package drills and assigning him red zone repetitions. Perhaps allowing him to lead a second team's 2-minute practice session. The characteristics they have observed would be reinforced, strengthening those behaviors and increasing their own assets' worth. Rather, they put it on hold as if it were too early to give a damn. That's the old model speaking, though. The old risk-averse pedigree-first model, which states that you shouldn't push until the guy has had his time, is being exposed because the best teams in the NFL today don't delay development around observable behavior. Instead, they accelerate it. The irony is that the Browns may have devalued their investment in an attempt to protect it because now that everyone knows they have something they're not using, leverage is gone, control is slipping, and if Sanders does get a shot elsewhere, you're the team that allowed him to walk. The Rams anticipated the outcome. The Browns continue to narrow their eyes. Furthermore, it is extremely uncommon for a team to express this level of interest in a rookie quarterback during a championship run. The timing wasn't coincidental. It implies urgency. It conveys assurance. It indicates that, despite the pandemonium of the playoffs, they witnessed something too genuine to ignore. The complete details may never be confirmed by Shedeur's camp. We know this, but we don't know how close things really got. The conversation's very presence says a lot. It signifies the start of a new era for the NFL. One in which the intelligent teams are not merely observing the footage. They are interpreting patterns. They're examining conduct. They are measuring poise as if it were a stock portfolio. You're already lagging behind if you're not participating in that game. From here, where do we go? Shedeur is now still with the Browns. However, since his worth is now obvious, pressure is growing from competing teams, agents, and fans. Interest, analysis, and opportunity have all validated it. His potential is being put on hold, not because he isn't ready, but rather because Cleveland failed to change course when it mattered, and he continues to be shut out of significant reps every day. Will they now alter their course? Will they give him a lane to grow and reorganize the roadmap? Or will they allow another team to sign him for pennies and develop him into the quarterback that everyone knew he could be, possibly the next Rams? There is a ticking clock. The league is changing. And already ahead of the curve is Shedeur Sanders. Don't fool ourselves. There is more to this story than one player or one phone call. It's about what happens when a franchise chooses to strike before the rest of the world does after spotting gold in someone else's vault. Here, that's what the Rams did. Furthermore, the ramifications are genuine even if it was never put on paper. Already, the ripple effects are in motion. Cleveland, on the other hand, will either learn from this or end up as a cautionary story. You sense it, don't you? The long-suppressed tension around developmental quarterbacks is beginning to surface. Two camps are being formed from the teams. Those who value observable conduct over pedigree, those who adhere to hierarchy, and those who are old-school patients. Shedeur Sanders just emerged as the embodiment of the latter. The Rams did not do the following. The term fifth round didn't deceive them. The absence of regular season statistics didn't deter them. They were able to discover uncommon psychological features under strain without the need for an entire season's worth of footage. There's something here, and it won't be here for long. They did this after watching one preseason game and analyzing the mental tape that lies beneath the physical tape. That kind of conviction is exactly the antithesis of what Cleveland is doing at the moment. Although they believe no one is looking, the Browns are treating Sanders like a long-term asset. However, since LA's interest wasn't one-time, the longer they keep him hidden without any significant advancements or deployments, the more likely it is that they will be outmaneuvered. It served as a warning to the league. Listen carefully. Franchises that are prepared for the future think like this. Consider it. How long will Stafford continue to run the show in Los Angeles? He's still great at 37, but as we all know, his window is closing. His body is suffering. It doesn't get any easier. Furthermore, the Rams will not wait for an unannounced quarterback crisis to occur. They are making plans in advance. They wanted someone who could absorb McVay's system like a sponge and eventually become the next face of the franchise, someone who was intelligent, cool, and able to handle criticism. Additionally, they were prepared to spend millions to develop him rather than to launch him. That is the difference between passive hope and deliberate ambition. The Rams decided, let's act while we still can, while other clubs are thinking, let's wait and see. And in the midst of all of this, there's a rookie quarterback with a surname that everyone knows, poise that most veterans wish they had, and a brand that can make an impact without a single advertisement. Why hasn't Cleveland made a move, then? Now, it is the most important question. Because he's young, if that's your response. He requires time. You know what? Time is useless unless it is put to use. Observing from the sidelines with a clipboard doesn't help you grow better. Conducting scout team drills doesn't help you improve high-stress processing. You require structured pressure and repetitions. To strengthen the exceptional qualities you've shown in live action, you need the right setting. Those preseason reps weren't only good, let's face it. They weren't the same. Rookies have flashed before, no doubt, but they hardly ever control the huddle, control coverages, and keep an entirely level-headed emotional profile when under attack. Completing a pass is one thing. Planning a drive is a different matter entirely. The latter was done by Sanders. It appeared calm, clinical, and even uninteresting in its efficiency. The Rams noticed because of this. The league is whispering because of this. And for that reason, Cleveland appears to have a diamond that they are feigning to be a paperweight.